Welcome to Elemental Fun, a historical and cultural look of the elements of the periodic table.
Hello and welcome to Elemental Fun. My name is Grace.
My name is Cindy.
And we're gonna do a science stories.
Science stories.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Take a break from some of those boring
chemicals.
We've been doing some elements that
what are
are
you talking about? Osmium and iridium were amazingly
so
interesting.
exciting. I found so much cultural significance in them, except I didn't know they existed before we did the episode.
I kind of knew about iridium. Not so much
I
about osmium,
really...
only because of iridescence.
You know, osmium reminded me of the name of one of my students. So that's about as close as I got.
Well, you know, the reason why I suggested osmium because I was looking at the periodic table and we were doing oxygen. So I was like, that sounds kind of similar. Let's do that one. I don't know.
That one has an O.
It sounds kind of namey like the same.
Yeah. So anyway, we're taking a break. We're going to talk about some stories in the world and in the news.
Mm-hmm. And
we're going to just kind of have some fun.
Riff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Riffing it.
Mm-hmm.
What's your story?
My story?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you.
Okay. Thanks.
Residents in a small town called Nailsea near Bristol in the UK had to evacuate their town the day after Boxing Day this last year.
Okay.
Because of a giant noxious gas cloud that erupted from a house and poured out into the streets. Want to hear what happened?
Yeah.
A housewife, mother of three, her name was Dominique Heath. She was trying to unclog a toilet.
Okay.
So her son either poured way too much toilet paper or a toy into the toilet. And so she was trying to unclog it. And she decided to use 2 bottles of toilet unclogger.
Oh.
She let that sit in the toilet for a long time.
Okay.
Didn't work. So then she decided to add 3 liters of bleach into the mix.
Oh my God.
Want to know what she made?
Something explosionary?
Chlorine gas.
Oh, shit. So those of you who don't know.
Do you remember our salt episode where we talked about how
chlorine, green poisonous gas?
Yes, how it was used in World War I, even though there was a signed Geneva Convention treaty.
It's so terrible
saying
the way you die.
We're not going to use chemical warfare.
Yeah.
Right? So they were like, no chemical warfare. And there was that scientist who won the Nobel Prize that was like, this won't kill them. And
it'll just make them
and miserable. Then it literally just wiped out everyone in
and
the
did terrible,
horrible things. Yeah. So that's what she made. And I guess when it started pouring out of her toilet, she's like, it started to burn my eyes and my throat. She's like, so I opened all the windows, and then they all had to like flee the house, and then the whole town had to be evacuated because
big amount of chlorine.
This is chemical warfare. This noxious cloud just like pouring out of the streets.
Wow.
And of course, it has a lower density, so it sinks.
Right.
So
no, if it's a lower density, it should be. You mean it's more dense?
Yeah, it's higher. Sorry, it's a higher density.
Yeah, so it sinks.
It's like hanging out,
just like.
So, I just thought that was quite the story.
Is her toilet still clogged?
You know, I don't know if it exists anymore. But luckily, no one was severely hurt.
Well, at least you can get away from the gas, and since it does sit, if you can run away from it, and then you're going to be above it.
And I guess she was kind of like, I opened the windows and it just kept coming, and so then I had to flee my house. It's not the first time that like accidents like this have happened.
Well, I mean, there's chemicals and people just go, blue, let's put them all together. Oops.
Yeah, it's a banned chemical though. I mean, so here's this woman who made it.
They'll be like,
in her toilet.
How did you make chlorine gas? What were you trying to do?
I put two bottles of this toilet unclogger, and then it works. 3 liters of bleach.
Like, And it's cleanly killed any living thing that was in there.
I don't
but
understand
my
how that's going to
God.
unclog
Well,
your
this thing, the
toilet.
bleach won't
Use
do that.
a plunger.
Right.
I'm just sorry.
So I don't know if you ever watched Animaniacs.
Yes.
Yeah, and they had the one with when Plucky the duck, Plucky was little, and so he was learning how to go to the bathroom. So he watches it go down the hole, and he goes, "Oh,
is that
don't
go
go down the hole!" And then he keeps playing, and then it gets clogged, and then it's like, "Oh, the boat toy came, Plucky boat went down the hole," and then it starts coming back. The boat came back.
I remember
and then
that.
it like floods everywhere. That's what I was thinking of without the chlorine gas.
Except instead of a noxious gas that is a chemical warfare, it's just a boat. I
almost thought you were going to be talking about the last science stories with the big the
fat
gelatinous
bird.
fat bird. Yeah, I was like, wait a minute, you're already talking about this.
No.
Oh, this is also England, right?
So I get a
What are
lot
they
of my
doing in
news
England?
stories from
Maybe she needs to
IFL
get together. Right. Oh, yeah, IFL science.
Yeah.
Maybe she needs to get together with the
and
fat bird
it's
thing.
UK.
Maybe she would have been
She
able
could
to dissolve
destroy
it.
the fat
Yeah,
birds.
that's what I'm saying. Combine
Except
together. Except you
you
also just poison everybody
just
else.
poison everyone in London. But
But they have the best pies in London.
the worst
Wow.
fat birds in London.
That's super crazy. A side note on bleach. I lived in Florida, right? And we have hurricanes.
You've already told
There
this
was
story.
that one? Yes, I
Yeah.
thought we did.
Yes, you
yeah,
did.
when we were talking about what we were talking about.
You were.
I don't remember which one it is.
It
Sodium
was about
hydroxide.
chlorine. It was probably when we did salt.
Oh, maybe.
Because you talked about your
drink
friend that
sodium.
got burned.
Yeah, the sodium hydroxide.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why bleach isn't good.
Yeah.
It's not going to clear that either.
Well, I don't get why she, her next thought was like, okay, this unclogger didn't work, so I'm gonna bleach it. And you're
I
like,
guess it's strong.
but it doesn't.
I know it doesn't, but I'm just trying to get in her
So
strange
I'm a
mentality.
hippie, and you actually don't, and I'm also on a septic tank, and you don't want to put bleach in there because then it kills the stuff that breaks down the stuff in your septic tank.
Right.
And actually, I once bought, instead of Drano, I bought Drainbow. and it has enzymes that you activate with warm water.
Enzymes are good.
So you mix it with warm water, and it activates the enzymes, and then then you pour that down the drain of your sink, and it kind of, in theory, I don't think it really worked that well. Again, plungers work great.
I mean, enzymes will, depending on what the clag is.
Yeah,
The
clag.
The clag.
The clag.
It's the clag. And you may not have enough, right? The enzymes will speed up reactions and whatever it's supposed to eat, but they're specific. Enzymes are specific. So if it's not doing the right reaction,
it was meant for clogs, and so you would think it was.
Right, but really, but it whatever the enzyme is, catalyzing that whatever reaction that is, it's very specific. So whatever protein or other chemical or compound that is there has to be specific to the enzyme that you're putting in there. So if you have something that those enzymes aren't going to be able to break down, then it's not going to help. Yeah, it just adds on.
Again, plunger. Just use a plunger.
Plungers are good.
You know what? That's all you need.
My friend down in Coopville, actually, one of the girls clogged the sink, and they couldn't figure out how to, nothing was working, so they had to, it was one of the dual sinks, so they actually had to put one plunger on one side and then put plunger on the other side, and then until it finally went.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Gross.
Yeah, it's lovely. So plungers.
Yeah.
Good things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you learn anything from this podcast, do not take toilet unclogger in mass amounts
and massive amounts of bleach
and massive amounts of bleach and mix them.
Yeah, it's not a good.
Yeah, she put the unclogger in their toilet at 1 PM, and then she waited until 8 o'clock at night.
Okay.
To put in the bleach.
How quickly did it happen after she put the bleach in?
I'm not sure.
Okay, because it probably was a more quick reaction.
I'm sure it was a quick reaction.
Bleach.
But
that's just interesting. I'm just wondering, in my chemical brain is now going on there of what reaction occurred that released the chlorine, because the chlorine had to have come from the declogger, because the sodium hydroxide bleach is basically just sodium and hydroxide. So if the sodium, I don't know.
Says the chemicals in the toilet unblocker and the bleach reacted to form a putrid cloud of chlorine gas, a poisonous substance so toxic it's banned by the Geneva Convention, and its use is considered a war crime.
Oh, did she actually get charged?
In small, I don't think she did because it was not intentional.
Okay, intentionally. Get it.
Yeah, and we talked about in the salt episode basically you get pulmonary edema.
Right. Yeah, what should we just have? Yeah, the edema.
Edema. Did I say edema?
Edema is a little different. Edamame? Yeah, fluid buildup in the lungs.
So basically she
You
shut
drown.
the bathroom door and opened up all the windows, but that didn't really stop the spread.
Right.
So then she turned to a neighbor for
Because
help.
gas wants to do that. They don't like, the molecules of gas don't like each other, so they just try to spread it far away as each other as possible.
They called the fire service.
Right.
They told her to evacuate.
Mm-hmm.
They sent fire crews from 3 separate stations. Had to cordon off the street. Basically, she told her story on Facebook, and as a warning to anyone who might be tempted to mix large quantities of potentially lethal.
Well, they are
chemicals.
legal.
They are legal
chemicals.
Lethal
Until you put them
chemicals.
together, now and then really legal.
She wrote, "It was really serious," she told Bristol Live. "We are all okay, but it was the dumbest thing I've ever done. Please don't do this."
Well, it was nice of her to put that out there.
Yeah, I'm glad that she put that. But, I mean, and then the article goes on to talk about other situations in which chemical experiments went awry. And there's been other evacuations. One of them that wasn't a chemical experiment gone awry. It was just a suspected gas leak that turned out to be a foul-smelling fruit. I think that's durian. That would be my guess, because durian?
What's durian?
Oh, the
I've never even heard of
grossest
it.
fruit ever.
Ugh.
It smells like poopy death.
Not just death. Poopy death.
Poopy death. So,
Does it taste different? Or does it taste like poopy
here's
death
the
as
thing.
well?
Some people are like, yeah, no, it smells awful, but it tastes great. So, I've never actually had the fruit, but I had, I had Chinese students in the dorm that I was a dorm parent for, and they loved eating durian candy.
Oh.
But then they would
Interesting.
put it in their mouth, and then they would come up to me and breathe right in my face, because they were high school boys, and it just and then they're like, okay, no, you have to try it. I'm like, you know what, I will try everything once.
Right.
And I was like, this is poopy death in my mouth. And I'm like, I was like, and then they thought it was so funny that I thought it was gross.
Oh, of course.
But like, you ask people, and they're like, oh yeah, oh, it smells awful, and you're like, who like saw this fruit and went, oh God, this smells like.
Let me taste it.
Yeah, I'm good. But you know what? I'm real hungry, so I'm just gonna.
Most of your taste is smell. I know.
So you know what? I think for some people love the taste of it. They're like, yeah, it smells bad, but
Well,
it tastes
it's
good.
like black licorice. I mean, I think it's disgusting.
I don't
but
like-
lots of people like it.
A lot of people have dead taste buds.
This is also true.
That's my
Really
excuse
messed
for
up.
black.
That's just wrong.
I just don't like black licorice either.
Oh, it was disgusting. My mom loves it, but so she's good to eat jelly beans with because you just give her all the black jelly beans. She loves them.
I just don't like to eat jelly beans.
I'm sorry.
I'm not a big fan of like.
Just sugar for sugar's sake.
I just want chocolate.
Oh, that's not fat. That's fine. Yeah.
So you know.
I mean, I'd probably pick chocolate over jelly beans, but I still enjoy jelly bean. Have you had the Bernie Bott's flavored?
Of course I have.
I'm just never know.
And I don't like that game. I don't like the, is this going to be wild berry or toothpaste? Is this going to be vomit or tutti frutti? Like, I don't like that game.
But that one, but you can look on the side. Now, I saw one in the store at a Rite Aid that is the same thing, but it's not Bernie Bott's, it's not Hogwarts.
Right.
But, because on that one, you can look at what it is and see what it is, so you don't actually have to play the game. But that one the one looks like either vomit or cherry. Like, they made it look the same, so you literally don't know.
I've seen Bertie Bott's where the tutti frutti and the vomit
Well, they can look very
really similar. But again,
yeah.
I don't want to pick up each candy and be like, is this one I throw in the trash? Or is this one that I eat? And then I'm like, I don't even really like them that much in the first place. But when I went to the Harry Potter night at the library, you know what? Greta was like, I want to try. I was like, But
Oh,
she
Benjamin loves like the vomit one.
What?
That one. He's
Child
like,
is
no,
weird.
I know. He loves soap. He's like, that soap is the best.
Greta really
Which
liked the toothpaste flavored one, which I'm
I don't
like,
think we had a toothpaste one.
Yeah.
Our boxes don't have toothpaste.
yeah, there was one
Interesting.
at the thing, and I'm
Oh,
like,
that
you know
makes
what?
sense because of the
Yeah.
minty. Yeah, like that's not bad.
And she's like, this one tastes great. And I got a toothpaste one. I was like, I don't know.
Well, see the vomit. Like, there's a lot of like the vomit one. It tastes like vomit. Like it's
the
terrible.
black pepper
But-
one's bad.
Yeah, that one's terrible too.
That one's bad.
But the soap was almost more for me because at least those other things like are supposed to be in your mouth. Like vomit's not. It does go there though, but like you're not supposed to have soap in your mouth.
Not unless you're my sister. When
Does she actually have her soap?
my
mouth?
mom would
Cleaner
brush
than
her
that?
teeth with soap.
Ugh.
Anytime she'd go, why don't you make me? She had an attitude problem. My mom's
Yeah.
like,
Oh, yeah.
I'm
Here you
gonna
go."
I'm gonna wash that tooth right out of your mouth. Anyways,
That's
tell me
awesome.
your story.
Okay, so mine is more animal cognition related.
What, you telling stories about animals?
I know,
Never
happens.
happens.
So do you know the mirror test?
The mirror test.
Yes. It's a very famous one in cognition circles of self-awareness.
No, it does make me think of a play called Circle Mirror Transformation that
Oh.
I've read. But
Okay.
that's probably not the same thing.
now. So the idea is, if I put a mark on you, if I came up to you and I did a thing on your cheek like I just did, well, that was a sound.
That was a good sound.
What would you do if you then were able to go to a mirror?
I would probably look to see if it was on my cheek.
Right. So you would go and you look at it and you say, so that's that. It has been a classic test to show that the animal is self-aware. That you know that the reflection is, because if you've seen like a dog bark at a mirror,
Or like a bird I had.
it's just run. Yeah, they
No,
like attack the
no,
mirror,
yeah,
attack the mirror.
they'd get in fights,
Yeah.
but then they'd make up and they would
And then
cuddle.
they'd be loving. Yeah.
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 We called
So-
one was Ernie and we called the reflection Bert,
That's
the
awesome.
parakeet. he had a love-hate relationship with his
Oh,
reflection.
Yeah, I could see that. It could be, sometimes they're nice, sometimes they're not.
I have a love-hate relationship with my reflection.
Sometimes I'm like, yeah, I look awesome. And other times I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, that's
What's wrong with me?
That's my life
Yeah.
as a woman.
I think most women. So anyway, so that's the test that's been used.
Right.
The humans obviously do it. So if
Yeah.
you get marked, you'll look to find where the mark is.
Mhm.
And even if you're not marked, like if you have felt that you're doing, you'll still look for it.
Yeah, or
you
even
don't know.
even if I feel like there's something on my face, I'm
Right.
gonna look
You
in a
should be like,
mirror
"Oh,
and
I know."
like look.
So if you know that the reflection is first of all not another animal,
Right.
and then on top of that you're realizing that it is a reflection of yourself. So you are self-aware, which is the idea.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So the ones primates can do this.
Yeah.
They've shown it in dolphins. And there may be another mammal or two that can do it, but it's very rare that is available. So this study was, have you ever heard of the cleaner wrasses fish? So the ones that
I'm sorry. Are you saying?
cleaner wrasse.
Okay.
I'm like, no, exactly what I'm saying. Like, what are you talking about? Oh, cleaner asses. Okay, that does not. Yeah, no.
I was
Cleaner.
It's like there's a fish named that.
The
Scientist.
wrasse is a WRASS.
Okay. Okay. I got it. I got it now.
So these little cleaner wrasses are the ones that have the cleaning stations. So the big like moray eels and
Yeah,
sharks will
yeah.
even will go over and they're like, I won't eat you now if
It's
you clean
not
my
like-
parasites.
Wait.
They're the ones that go and clean.
They're the ones that clean or get
Yeah,
cleaned.
no, they're the ones that clean. They're
Like
little
the
tiny
shrimp.
fish. Yeah, there's different types of
Right,
cleaner
right,
stations
right.
and fish that and do
I
that.
just think of the. I watch a lot of PBS with my child,
Mhm.
and there's splashing bubbles, and there's moray.
Mhm.
No, moray, the moray,
Moray, mhm.
and there's like a little shrimpy, not a
Right.
shrimp, but you know
Yeah.
what I mean. That cleans his teeth.
Mhm.
But this is a fish.
Yeah, this is so it looks like that he's super.
Oh, yeah,
cute.
yeah, okay.
Little, so it's a little. They're small fish.
Yeah.
So what's really interesting is this story just came out, and that to all objective thing that the project showed that the wrasse was self-aware, that he passed the mirror test.
Huh.
So they put a mark on him, and he would go and like try to rub where the mark was, and he didn't do it. And even if the mark wasn't there, he would like kind of rub on that. And then it was also that it wasn't. If they put the mark on the mirror, he didn't do it. So it wasn't just like he saw it there and then
Something
thought
on
it was
the mirror
right. He knew
and
that
tried
was
to-
something different. Yeah.
Huh.
So it's the cleaner wrasse responds to its reflection and attempts to remove marks on its body during the mirror test, a gold standard for determining if an animal is self-aware.
So a fish that's self-aware.
Right. So that's the thing though, is that now they're like, well, does that mean it?
self-aware?
Right. So does a pass mark in the mirror test demonstrate that fish possess self-awareness, a cognitive trait thought only to be present in primates and some other mammals? Or can the mirror test be solved by very different cognitive processes than previously thought? So is there something else that's going on that's not necessarily that animal being self-aware? Now, what's interesting is that, it took a long time for them to even say primates, which are so close to us,
Right.
and even dolphins, who are highly intelligent, for them to be like, okay, they're self-aware. So, and we do need to be cautious because
think of
some of these
if
times,
it's more of a nurture cognitive thing, like if they see another one of their kind that has something on their face, like to want to clear that off of them, and they're cleaning animals,
right?
So
And so like, but that would also lead to another thing, like, well, if it's not, they don't think it's themselves, but they are carrying empathetic towards another animal, right? That leads to another thing. So he said the behaviors we observe leave little doubt that the fish fulfills the criteria of the mirror test as originally laid out. What is less clear is whether these behaviors should be considered as evidence that the fish are self-aware, even though in the past these same behaviors have been interpreted as self-awareness in so many other animals. So
maybe they're just self-absorbed.
I love myself so much.
It makes me really think of Finding Nemo. Though when there's the fish who's like, and this is my sister Flo.
Flo, yeah.
Hi, how's it going? And then when the algae's
reflection.
all over it, she's like, does anyone say Flo? She's gone. Where are you? Don't believe anything she says. She's nuts.
I love that one.
So she is not self-aware.
Totally. Well, and so the interesting thing is, that the other ones, my primates and stuff can go and pick at the mark and use their hands, right? Dolphins was the first one that was like, they don't have hands to do that, so
Yeah.
how would you
How did they?
interpret that? Well, so they did that where they would turn their heads and look and then try to rub on things that they couldn't get their hands to. So
Their flippers
their
couldn't touch
flippers
their
like
face.
can't do that. So they were wondering that about the fish because they don't have hands, right? So they placed a colored mark on the fish on a location that can only be seen in a mirror or reflection, and to pass the test, the animal must touch or investigate the mark, demonstrating it perceives the reflected image as itself. And it's obviously clearly a challenge for animals such as fish that lack hands or limbs. But he
so hard.
attempted to remove the mark by scraping their bodies on hard surfaces after viewing themselves in the mirror. Never attempted to remove a transparent mark in the presence of a mirror, or colored marks when no mirror was present.
Would they look at the mirror and then go to a rough thing to rub
Yeah.
it and then come back and look in the mirror?
I think so, yeah.
That seems to me like self-awareness.
Right, and then they wouldn't do it like if you just touched it but didn't leave a mark. They'd look in the mirror and go, "Oh, I'm fine," and didn't try to remove a mark that wasn't there.
Huh.
An unmarked
So
fish.
it's not like I feel something on my face.
Right, it's like, oh, I know I was touched, but now there's
But
nothing
there's
on me, so it's okay. Unmarked fish did not attempt to remove marks from themselves when interacting with a marked fish across a clear divider. So looking at another fish.
The empathy thing,
Right,
my
doesn't run
theory.
out.
Yeah, okay.
Nor did they attempt
Not
to
that I thought fish were empathetic.
No, but you never
yeah.
know. Nor did they attempt to remove marks placed on the mirror itself, suggesting the fish were not innately reacting to a mark resembling an ectoparasite anywhere that they needed to remove.
Okay.
So what I like about the story was that the authors of it, acknowledged the controversial nature of this. We're not saying like, yeah, all of a sudden fish are self-aware.
You're right.
You do have to kind of.
But it is acknowledging that like these elements of
Right, it did pass this.
it
So what
passed
does
the
this mean?
test. What
Right.
does it mean now?
So it says, depending on your position, you might reject the interpretation that these behaviors in a fish satisfy passing the test at all. But on what objective basis can you do this when the behaviors they show are so functionally similar to those of other species that have passed the test, right? So they talked to the editors for the journal that it was published in, asked Professor Franz de Waal, who's a very famous primatologist, and has written a lot of books about animal empathy or not empathy, but animal
Awareness.
cognition and awareness and things. And he studied the mirror self-recognition. And while DeWall finds the fish studying intriguing, he urges caution in interpreting it. In doing so, he calls for less black and white approach to animal self-awareness. And this is what I love. What if self-awareness develops like an onion, developing layer upon layer, rather than appearing all at once? To explore self-awareness further, we should stop looking at responses to the mirror as its litmus test. Only with a richer theory of the self and a larger test battery will we be able to determine all of the various levels of self-awareness, including what exactly fish fit in. So the idea, like
that there's multiple levels of self-awareness.
Right. So the self-awareness that a fish has may not be the same self-awareness that we have, but it's still there. It doesn't negate. We always relate everything back to ourselves.
Like if it's self-aware, it's as self-aware as me.
Right.
But
it
no,
may not. Like their brains work differently, but it doesn't make it any less. You know, like it's just different. And I think that's our big problem is we relate everything to us, and that's why we have to separate us from animals. And dolphins can't do that, and primates can't do that because they're not us. And then each time we find that they do break that barrier, we find some other barrier to put up between them and us because we have to be different. So this idea that fish,
because we're self-absorbed,
very self-absorbed, because humans are awesome,
we're the
destroying
best.
the world.
I love every time I explain to my second graders that we are in fact mammals, and like you could just see their tiny little brains exploding.
Yeah,
he's like,
I had a super proud moment with my 6-year-old because he was talking about shock collars for dogs. I didn't know where it came up, but he was like, he heard that, some people use shock collars on dogs. And I'm like, yeah, it's not very nice, and he was like, well, you can't do that. And you can't do that on people. And I was like, yeah, no, you can't. He's like, but people are animals and so are dogs. So therefore we shouldn't, be able to do that. And I was like, oh, such a proud mama moment right now. Like, yes, you're right. People are animals. We don't like to think it, but we are.
We are.
And so to equate that, being like, well, you can't do that to humans, so why should you be able to do that to animals? And then he wanted to become governor so that he could ban people selling them in the store.
But unfortunately, my brain goes to like, well, yes, people are animals, but like, we are allowed to kill animals to eat. We're not allowed to kill people to eat. Because there is a difference.
There is it's a difference between there's cannibalism and then the cycle of nature, and the other animals are able to kill other animals to eat as well.
Right.
That's a part.
Did you hear about the runner in Colorado
that ate somebody?
No. What? Sorry, I was thinking about animals that
like he really needed some protein.
No, he was running on a trail and a juvenile cougar attacked him, and it was only 80. It was only 80 pounds. My husband was like, it was just a juvenile. I'm like, I'm sorry, I couldn't fight off anything that weighed 80 pounds, including a sack of potatoes. If it landed on me, I'd be like, yeah, I'm just gonna die. He killed it with his bare hands. He choked it out.
Oh my gosh!
And
because their jaws are very strong.
And then he ran back to his car and drove himself to the hospital. He's getting a lot of flack for it.
Because he defended himself?
Well, because he murdered a predator.
But
I know.
So if an 80-pound man attacked you and you killed them because he was attacking you, that seems like self-defense.
A lot of people were like, you shouldn't have been running where there's...
Yeah. So saying that you shouldn't have been running while they're in an area where the animals were known to be or whatever.
Right, but like...
But he was on a trail?
He was on a trail. And it's abnormal behavior for a cougar.
Right, they're not going to usually go after people.
Don't usually go after people.
Right.
And he tried all the steps beforehand.
Right.
He made himself big. Walk away. And then it attacked him, and he basically... It bit his face, and then it got its jaws around his wrist, and then he grabbed a rock and was like beating it.
Yeah.
And then he ended up choking it out.
Jeez.
I'm like, oh my gosh.
That's badass.
Like you have the fight instinct in you, my friend. Because
you'll be a good father. You protect that family.
I was like, oh my gosh.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And then they checked it for like rabies or anything. It didn't have rabies, but like
that's great. Yeah. I mean, the problem is we're seeing more and more of that as humans encroach into the environment.
And destroy the environment that we actually have for them.
And also, I mean, if he was really hungry, you do crazy things when you're hungry.
Yes, I was watching Naked and Afraid today.
Exactly. You go on shows like Naked and Afraid
when you're really hungry. No.
Hungry for fame.
So sorry, you said animals just will just eat anything, and that made me think of that quick story.
Yeah, no, I mean it's well that's the thing, like it's the cycle of life,
right?
And, but we are animals.
We are animals.
Yeah.
Yes, and
so speaking of that, we did a kind of a weird thing on the boat while we were out in the Bahamas doing dolphin research, and we go through interesting thought processes while we're waiting for dolphins to show up.
When you're stuck on a boat
on a boat with like 10 other people.
Yeah.
So then we were talking about basically what would you do if you were the only option was to eat people, right?
Ugh.
Like the soccer team in the Andes that when the plane crashed and stuff.
Or I can't think of that group that got stuck in the snow crossing the Sierras.
Well, because that was also in the snow, the plane crash, but this is something else.
Oh, someone's listening to this podcast and they're yelling at me right now.
You'll know it as soon as we turn the recording off.
Of course I will.
But we discussed, and as a lot of us as scientists were just like, yeah, eat me if I'm dead.
Yeah,
I'm dead already.
Don't kill me.
Don't kill me to eat me. But if I'm
I
dead
died,
already, then just eat me. And we had one lady on the boat that was just like, just thought we were like the most terrible people ever. Like, I am never going like anywhere near you guys again. And I'm like, well, we're not going to kill you to eat you, but like, why waste the meat?
This is a hypothetical situation,
right? I'm like, I'm not going to go out and eat people, but like, if that's the only option, it's that or dying, and the people are already dead. That's what happened on the Tale of the Essex, the actual real life story of Moby Dick, where the ship got crushed by the whale, and they went on the rowboats. And then there was like 6 or 7 guys in the rowboat. It ended up that only 2 of them survived of a long harrowing journey. But one of them, they basically started. When people would die, they'd throw them overboard and all that. But then they started running out of rations.
Yeah.
And then they didn't have anybody dead. So then they were drawing straws about who to kill.
No.
Yeah, to eat them. And my God,
cool.
yes, no, seriously. And when they found,
but you're like in the ocean, can't you just like?
Not fish very easily. No, I guess not. I mean, the ocean is pretty big, and there's not a lot of fish right at the surface.
You were on a whaling boat.
But you're on now this little skiff.
I know, but shouldn't you know how to? I don't know.
Well, yeah, they're whaling. They're not fishing, but they didn't have anything to fish either. And in the ocean, big, wide, open ocean, there's a lot of nothing.
That's true.
And then some fish.
That's true.
And when they found him, he was sucking on the marrow of the bones and like wouldn't let it go because that he was like, anyway,
like this is
crazy.
My only way to live.
Yeah, so it's crazy.
And when I was in 8th grade, we went on. We actually went to Orcas Island from Spokane to Camp Orkila, and our science teacher was reading us a book about cannibals. And I look back on that and I'm like,
maybe that wasn't the best choice.
Probably wasn't the best choice, but and I remember being a little uncomfortable. I'm like, why is it? It was, and it was like like a nonfiction. Like it was legit, like not just like some creepy,
so like
gross
real
story.
life, like cannibalism.
Well, it's not creepy in real life either.
Well, no, but I mean, but it's made up instead of being like,
it's
this is a live story about what this happened.
Yeah. So
yeah, well, it's like when we go out on the boat. People would watch like Shark Week right before they go out on the boat, and it's like this probably wasn't the best thing to watch.
Yeah.
Before going out into the Bahamas where there actually are sharks. I mean, they're fine, but still.
I love sharks. I'm also like deeply afraid of them.
Well, you should have a healthy respect.
I have a healthy respect.
They are one of those animals that has not really evolved a lot in the last millions of years because they're pretty good how they are.
Yeah.
So, except for people who cut their dorsal fins off for shark fin soup.
Well, I mean that's the thing. It's like sharks are responsible for what, like 6 deaths a year.
Oh yeah, something. Like
and we are responsible for like
6 million.
6 million shark deaths a year.
Yeah.
And it's usually just for like the shark fin.
Yeah, which is so terrible because it's like with elephant tusks and stuff. They literally catch the shark, shave off its fin, and throw it alive back in the water,
where it won't be able to swim.
Most likely.
And then a shark has to keep moving to breathe.
Right.
And so therefore,
almost all species. Yeah.
Yeah, just about all species have to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's pretty. It's just people are terrible.
But they don't do that with elephants. They don't just like cut off the tusk and let them live. They usually kill them and then cut off.
Right. But they're. I mean, so that case, at least they've died and they're not suffering anymore. But you're also just wasting the entire elephant for.
We
just
won't
the
get
tusks.
into
Really
animal
gone down,
brutality.
like,
We've gotten really. We
Cannibalism
started
and
chemical
people sucking are just
warfare
terrible.
and
Ah.
cannibalism and.
So fish can be maybe self-aware and don't put bleach and toilet cleaner down your toilet.
Also,
That's the thing.
in honor of Snowmageddon, Bellingham is using beets
yeah,
as a de-icer.
which is because salt is bad.
Salt is bad. It still has salt in it,
Okay,
the beet
But it's not as
de-icer, but
much,
it's
right.
less amount of salt.
And apparently, because there's sodium chloride that can be used, and there's also magnesium chloride, and so a lot of places use magnesium chloride because it's better than the salt. But magnesium chloride, I saw when I saw that post, is bad as it leaches out into the water for
Right.
animals. So,
Right. Well, you just don't want to introduce a whole lot of salt into
Yeah.
an
There's a
environment.
lot of osmoregulation going on from these different animals, and you don't want to mess up their salt balance.
Yeah. And I guess in Canada they were using beets like 2 years ago.
Right, because
A lot.
we're slow.
But then it just looked like
the
the road. It looked like the streets were like a
Why don't
bloodbath.
they use golden beets?
Mm.
Because then it wouldn't look nearly like a
I'm like,
bloodbath.
because they're delicious.
The golden beets are. I don't like regular beets.
I
I
love
like
all
golden
beets.
beets. I like golden beets. I have them some in the fridge. I need to use actually.
I have some beets in the fridge I need to use. Beet party.
Beet party.
Woo woo. All right, we're gonna
Alright,
call
that's
that.
our
We're gonna
science
call it a
stories.
day.
Yeah.
Don't forget to like us, subscribe
Please.
to us,
Please like us.
or we'll eat you.
But only if you die first. It's totally.
Yeah, we're legit. That
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, subscribe, and share.
Yeah, and that's this was an episode of Science Stories.
That's right. More elements coming up next.
More elements are coming up next.
Mm-hmm.
Some will be super exciting and have lots of cultural references,
And
some will
less.
not.
And
So
we'll
much.
have some fill about something exciting.
But you know what? You had to know what you were getting into.
Yeah, it's true. Not all elements can be
Our silver and gold.
Exactly.
Which, if you haven't listened to that one, it's
You should
actually
do it.
really
It's a
good. There's
really
a lot,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of cultural references
Oh yeah,
in
they're
there.
kind of centered around that.
It's
Yeah.
pretty important in our culture.
Our culture. Yeah.
So, yeah. Thank you so much for listening.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let these science stories get you down. And
Science is awesome.
science is great.
Mhm.
My name is Grace.
My name is Cindy.
Catch you on the flip side.
Bye bye.
My mic's on. Is your mic on?
Plug it in. Plug it in.
Fresh in 60 days.
We were just talking about osmium being smelly, so we're plugging it in.
Mm.
But now we're gonna do some science stories, so we'll just test in the mics.
Woo!